Alrighty everyone, welcome back to Wilds. So this is going to be a long form ad hoc video on the recent speedrun for Arkveld. I think there's a lot to learn here that if you don't have that kind of commentary, it might get lost. And there's a lot of things that you don't notice in a speedrun attempt. Let's start with preparation. Now, I can talk about damage output, and it really all comes down to preparation. The first thing and the most obvious thing that I think you're doing right is the build. You should have a good build that deals good damage and keeps you alive. There are currently three big options for lands. We have the Gorcher. This is Gore Magala plus Scorcher. This is the one that I'm rocking. You also have the almost as good Arkveld plus Jindahad, which I might try to get a screenshot of that. And then you also have Numinous plus Arkveld, which will keep you alive. Now, the thing with the wall, though, is that it deals less damage than these two options, but gives you a lot in survivability. The other one that you have is your buffs, and I'm pretty sure you're doing this right too. Obviously, if you have... That's a terrible F, holy moly. Buffs is Mega Demon Jog at the start, 30 minutes, which is huge. You also have food buffs, so we'll write it as a separate thing. Food, I can't write. So food, which should be canteen, so +5 from the canteen, or an invitation, or +2 from your barbecue grill. So this is important because I've mentioned it in a previous video, but just to reiterate, this is raw at the start of the big equation for damage output. So it affects your motion values, your buffs, everything. So +5 is huge. If you start losing stamina as you spend longer, you can take a well-cooked, is it well-done steak? To recover that stamina, because we lose stamina fairly quickly because we block a lot, so just keep that in mind. So after that, this might seem patronizing, but the power charm, some people might not have registered what the power charm is. Make sure you have it in your inventory because it buffs your damage, and never take it off, essentially. So power charm, I don't think it's even missable either, so there's all of that. What else can we talk about? Oh, food skills. So the big one here, and the one that I hate the most, what Caprice does is it gives you a certain boost for a random duration at a random interval. Theoretically, in the future, when speedrunning is super optimized for wilds and it becomes an actual category or whatever, world record might be determined by Caprice proccing at the right time. I don't like it. It's just gross. I hate using it. If you don't like it either, you can just go Moxie instead. It's really good. It keeps you alive. Okay, besides that, I guess your weapon. Your weapon is separate from your build, technically. Your weapon slash charm is also important. I don't think you're messing up doing this, though. Just make sure you have at least crit boost 3. This goes into guard up, but we're going to talk about guard up once we see one of the grabs. I have my opinions about guard up, but yeah. So we'll look at that later. God charms, I already mentioned in previous videos. Master's Touch plus weapon slot, or offensive guard 3 plus a weapon slot. And the weapon slot can be critical eye, like I have it, or attack boost 1. All of these things is what made me deal as much damage as I did. If you're missing something here, that's probably the culprit. If you're not missing something here, you still feel like you're not doing damage, there is still something that might have affected your damage output, but it turns out not in your control. Guess what? Monsters have varying levels of HP. So a monster can have 2% more, 2% less, or 4% more, or 4% less HP than normal. On top of that, the monster has different hit zones, hit zone values. All right, that's about everything for preparation. We can start with actually looking at the hunt. Okay, so here is the pre-buff section. This is crucial for having a good script, and we'll talk about what the script is. So you can take a Might Seed and a Demon Powder in any which order you might like. Then after that, you'll take the Might Pill, which doesn't stack with the Might Seed, but it does supersede it. Once we're underway, I don't recommend taking the Might Pill. I feel like 30 seconds is not enough to justify the animation it takes you to consume it. Your mileage may vary, and also they are extremely expensive to craft. So 1 per hunt is probably good enough. We can also talk about the areas here. Arkveld spawns in area 15, and around 5 minutes in, 5.5 minutes in, he'll move to area 14. If you don't deal enough damage, he'll move to area 13 and try to buff up with like one of the goop sacks in the wall. He can also move into area 12 sometimes, which is Jubu's den. If you want to avoid him moving at all, Once he moves to area 14, you can hit him with a lure pod and move back to area 15. And in theory, he shouldn't move anymore there, at least in my testing. You can also use flashbangs if you don't like the mega combo. And then what I have is trank blades, which I ended up not even using right. The idea here is once you notice his HP being below 30%, whatever it is, you can trank blade him just to prop him for your trap. So let's talk about scripting. Scripting is very important, especially at the start of the fight. Essentially, it boils down to, you can explain it as, the monster is always going to do these moves. And so you memorize what you're going to respond with to get the best start possible. So in this case, usually there are two ways this start could go for Lance. After the sneak attack, which both versions should strive for, what happens is you can get a mid thrust, mid thrust, mid thrust into a triple thrust combo, and then he's going to roar. So in that case, you do a power guard, which we're going to call Pog, and the power guard is going to be red into a grand retribution thrust, and then you're going to react to whatever he does afterward. Usually you're going to cancel that into a block or into another power guard or whatever. I forget what I do in this hunt. Quickly enough, he will do his enraged roar. So now he's going to enrage, and that is another one you can power guard, or you're going to red charge counter or whatever. And then the fight continues on from there. We can talk about the basics of the fight in a bit, but this is a script. He will always do this, essentially. The other option is doing a leaping thrust. If he recoiled a little bit too far away, mid, and then you don't have enough time before the intro roar to like do a triple thrust. So what you do is just go into your stage 3 charge counter and you get your double counter thrust. Then after that, he's going to do one or two moves, and then he is going to hit the damage threshold for the enrage. So again, just the same old thing, and then you continue the fight that way. So that is what a script is. So here we go. Sneak attack. We do the triple thrust because he was against the wall. We do the ground retribution thrust. We canceled into this. But at this point, he hit the threshold, so he roared. And that's it. That happens fairly consistently. That's what a script is. And now it's all about reacting to what he does. The first move we can talk about is what we're going to call the chain drag. The chain drag hits you 3 times. The response to it is doing a power guard, and it's going to be a red charge, so level 3. After that, you can do either a leaping thrust out of it, or you can try to go for a grand retribution thrust. So this is where you have to be a responsible adult. Think about, okay, if I go for a GRT, how likely is it for him to do another chain drag? If he goes for another one, or if he goes for a headbutt, what do? Well, okay, the GRT has some hyper armor on it, so the headbutt is gonna deal damage to me, but it's not gonna interrupt me, so I can get away with that. Or okay, he might do something like the chain drag again, so I need to cancel my GRT into shield. What's it called? Shield dash, I think it's called. It's basically your leaping thrust out of neutral. And this is the fastest way to block out of some situations. So you might have to protect yourself doing this. It does proc offensive guard, but it doesn't deal any damage outright. So that's the trade-off, right? Would I have gotten more out of leaping thrust, or would I have gotten more out of GRT? So in this case, it's the very start. And he usually does do something else. It's usually a 3-hit combo or a 4-hit combo, depending. I've seen this guy try to hit me 5 times in a row with a chain drag. I'm not kidding. But say you got a chain drag in the 3rd, 4th position, you are fairly confident that he's not going to try to go for another chain drag. So you can hit him with a GRT and try to test your luck, I guess, so to speak. But if you get hit, that's on you. The ultimate safe option is a power guard into a leaping thrust, which is what we do here. So there you go, power guard. So here's the second move that we can talk about. This is the claw. So the claw is really annoying. It's the second most annoying move of this fight, in my opinion. So the claw has this weird invisible hitbox under it, which means that if you're in certain positions where it's not gonna hit you, it still hits you. See, like I'm not gonna be in the line of the visual claw, but still gonna hit me. And if you're over here, you have to like consider the delayed claw as well. So it's really annoying. It's one of the worst moves that he has. The answer to this is really just a perfect guard. There's not much else. You can do like a power guard, but you'll see it only gives me, I think, a white charge. So it's not that efficient. You kind of just want to do a return thrust and see what else he does next. So that's what we do. Then he does another chain drag. So in this case, the return thrust into, if you do a return thrust into a charge counter, it is very good because usually he does, especially if it's the first or second move. Knowing that the claw was only the second attack, I was fairly confident that he was going to try to do something close quarters afterward as well. So a charge counter here is a really good option because it lets me counter the subsequent attack, which in this case turned out to be a chain drag. Not necessarily, but that's the way it works. So he did 3 attacks and then immediately went for something entirely different. So this is what we call, or what I would call, the charge. I would suggest you try to hit the wing. Let me see if I can back it up really quickly. Okay, so see how he charges you with 1 claw forward? I would suggest looking sideways to the claw that's on the side, if that makes sense. If you're gonna charge counter it, that should make charge counter roughly hit this part. The alternative is try to hit the tail. And usually you are in a position afterward where he's going to try to hit you with it. In this case, he won't because he power clashes me. Editing fits here, so I've kind of flipped what I was trying to say in this section. The dash after the retribution thrust is the best part after a power clash. But in general, it is a little bit too high commitment after grand retribution thrusts. What I like to do if I'm not far away from the monster is do a triple thrust instead. It is roughly the same damage, but you get to block in the middle of it if need be. And the downside is that you can't extend it like you can a dash attack. So it will do less damage the longer you can do a dash attack into a finishing twin thrust. But again, the problem is that you might get hit because of the dash attack's long recovery. Okay, so we saw a headbutt there. I guess we can talk about the headbutt really quickly. This move is an absolute hoe of a move. So this is so fast. You know what it reminds me of? It reminds me of when a cat like waddles up to your leg and starts like nudging it with his skull. And he just keeps doing this over. He can do this as many times as he wants until he breaks the chain. So keep that in mind. It's the same thing as the chain drag. That's why they're really annoying. So he can just keep looping this as well. You only have enough time to do a return thrust here. If you try to get another mid thrust, which is your fastest attack, really, he will knock you out of it. And you'll see that happening in a bit. So let's talk about the grab really quickly. And here's where we're gonna talk about guard up. I'm just going to try to explain why I don't value guard up like at all. Number 1, opportunity cost. So we have a limited amount of skills in this game so far. That might and hopefully will change in the expansion. But so far, we can only fit so many things on our weapon. Number 1 priority is offensive guard. If you're playing Lance without offensive guard, no offense, but you cannot be complaining about damage. Offensive guard is our main source of damage. If we are not blocking, we are not doing damage. That's why Lance is really, really bad against Gargmazios, because at the exact moment that we need to deal the most amount of damage, which is his supernova, guess what? He's not attacking us, so we don't have offensive guard. The second necessity is damage output. Now, we can't get attack boost 5 with crit boost 3, but some combination of these two, and then we have Master's Touch. And you'll notice there is just no space for guard up. But Fitz, it's not about the damage output. This has survivability, right? So it reduces chip, it reduces stamina damage, it lets me block things that are not normally blockable, like this pin, which is true. The thing is, this portion, charge counter already does. And I've talked about charge counter in the previous video. Why it's so ludicrously powerful, because it lets you block virtually everything in the game. As long as charge counter exists, there's really no point in going guard up. So again, I'm not saying this because, oh, you're a noob. I'm trying to show you that there's a shortcut here that you might want to consider, that it's just a win-win for you, if that makes sense. So yeah, we just charge counter the pin because we can do that. And the rest is just cycling through all of his close range options, which are the 3 moves that we've already talked about. So this is like a variant of the pin. It's not actually a pin. He just like flies around, and he has so many options from this. I'm not even gonna talk about the options that he has from this. Right, we'll call this, what do we call this? Special move 1. It really doesn't have a name, does it? Okay, so this is the chain slam from neutral. This means he has slam on one side, slam on the other, and then he can do a double slam. This one's fairly easy to identify. He can also skip the second hit in this AT version. Usually he doesn't. Okay, so tail attack. This is the tail spear, tail poke, whatever you want to call it. It lets you get a return thrust in and a wide sweep, which is a lot of damage really quickly and safely. It's not really good to power guard. I think it gives you a wide level, so it's not really that good. Here's another claw. Hopefully you start seeing, see what I mean? This guy. Hopefully you start recognizing the moves as I call them out. So there's the neutral. You can see he does, well, 2. And then he can stop it there, or you might go for the finisher. Headbutt. So this is the one that I call the flyby. So he just flaps his wing like bigly and drags the trains along the ground. He can do this while enraged, or in this case, he's not enraged. And the problem with this is, so he does this like chain slam afterward, usually if you're close range. If you're far away, he has a chance to just hit you with the ultimate instantly there. And that might just ruin your day. So keep that in mind. So at some point here, you should be paying attention to all your up tabs, by the way, if that wasn't immediately obvious. There you go. So Corrupted Mantle wore off. This means our entire combo structure has to change. And now our combo structure is, instead of spamming mid thrusts into triple thrust, which is what you do with Corrupted Mantle, what you do now is you try to get as many mid thrusts, wide sweep, high thrust into triple thrust as possible. The wide sweep is the most important segment here, but sometimes it's just not possible. Just because of the monster is gonna hit you in the middle or something. So you can also replace this, with another mid thrust. Now, replacing wide sweep significantly reduces the damage output and the DPS. As you learn the monster and as you learn the timings, you'll realize that you have lots of positions to get a wide sweep gun. I say it because this is the first wide sweep of the hunt, and you'll see me try to get it as many times as possible. So here's an interesting not interaction. I wish I had gotten this so I could show it off to you more properly. So as we talked in the last video, charge counter is essentially a big spherical hitbox around you, like a counter hitbox. And I screwed up here by going to power guard because I thought he was gonna magnetize a lot better to me. But turns out the attack went right over me. So here's my, say, power guard hitbox. POG. If I had charge countered instead, I am fairly confident this would have intercepted the attack. Even though it wasn't physically gonna hit me, it would have intercepted the attack and given me a double counter thrust. That's extra damage you're missing out every single time you fail. Stuff like that is, I think, important to recognize. So power guard, red power guard beats a white charge counter, essentially. So if you find out that you don't have enough time to charge a semi-decent charge counter, a power guard is going to be pretty good. So here's why, by the way, we just talked about it in the start. This is why I really like triple thrust at the end of a ground retribution, because I'm able to charge counter right here, because he immediately went for a grab, which is very rude of him. Charging the charge counter there, we get a big one. So this is the super attack. The way I like to counter this is I try to whiff mid thrusts backwards. You'll see me do it here. And just wait for him to land. Get the double counter thrust, and then immediately go for another counter thrust, and then deal with whatever he's doing next. If you're at close range, he's gonna do some kind of melee attack, so you're pretty safe to do all of those counter thrusts. If you're far enough away, what I would recommend, and we'll see it later on in the hunt, is you do a reverse backstep to close the distance, because he's gonna try to, you know, kill you with his ultimate. So in this position, I go for the, what's it called? Pitfall Trap. Pitfall Trap ended up being very good. I am gonna continue using it for all other attempts, because genuinely it improved my DPS in this portion of the fight, because he's not really enraged. So just getting this much DPS is almost equivalent to the Corrupted Mantle, which is why it's so important. So we can talk about the general strategy of the hunt now. After the initial script, what you're trying to look for is the first, let's call it blue wound, tempered wound popping. This is going to give you a knockdown, which is what happened right there. We also have the special knockdown from dealing damage to the wing arms, so we're gonna ignore those because they're a little bit more finicky. But the idea is that with the knockdown, you then try to get another part broken, usually the head. So the faster the head is broken, the faster, I can't type broken. So once you break the head, it reveals the blue wound. So the idea is to then pop that wound, to then feed into one of the wing arms breaking. You have 2 wing arm breaks, 1 head wound, 1 blue wound. That's 1, 2, 3, 4 knockdowns plus any of the special knockdowns as well. All of those knockdowns are prime candidates for like dealing a lot of DPS. And if you can get all of these cleanly during a run, it's a pretty good run. In this run, I don't get one of the wing arms because he just hyper armors through it essentially, which I think is bullshit, but whatever. You'll notice we're missing a wound, and that's because it's on his tail. So yeah, we can't get to it really. And it always spawns there, by the way. So here he just decided to do his super move again, which again, you'll see I do a charge counter, and here I do a power guard. Thing is, this pillar here is really annoying me, and I thought it was going to pop as well, so that's why I'm holding the power guard. But I noticed that it doesn't do anything, so I leap king thrust forward, because you saw him backstep here, by the way, right? So he's looking for his ultimate, and this ultimate, how it works is he does little trails on the ground and hits a big cylinder in front of him. So the idea is, if you're in this cylinder, you want to hop close to him and like punish him. If you can't, if that cylinder is a little bit too close, you want to power guard it and then reverse backstep here. If you're, by the way, I didn't mention it, if you're confused about like the terminology, reverse backstep, and that kind of stuff, we talked about it in the previous video. This is going to be long enough as it is, so I can't really like stop and explain what a reverse backstep is. So go watch that as well. So we get the special wound. Here I screw up because I forgot that he knocked you out with a wing arm, or he knocks you back with a wing arm. So again, reverse, not reverse, triple thrust after a GRT, really good. So here's the, I call it the fuck you, because it really, for a lot of weapons, it's just a fuck you moment. It has the range of like a Tomahawk missile. It hits really hard. It hits 3 times in a row. We can forward assist on the side that the chains are going to land, if that makes sense. So he does hit 1, then he's gonna do hit 2, and he's gonna do Giga Slam. Okay, so the idea is you counter the first chains and get out of the way under, right, the second hits, to then charge a counter thrust as he does the slam. Why do I want to charge the counter thrust instead of a power guard? Because the slam has a weird ass spot in the middle that doesn't have a hitbox, so you just wasted damage. So all of that is true for the normal version. This is the Guardian version, you can call it. There's going to be a big puddle of crap here that would interrupt that whole strategy. So what we do is just power guard it down. But I had to at least explain the logic, as you can see. We still get our counter thrust at the end, and we get our blue wound. So the idea is now working on the wing arms to try to get the break after he moves, because you'll notice again, look at your up times. We are running out of buffs. Oh, here's another of the tail. This is the second of the two main tail attacks. So this one's kind of annoying. It gives you a white charge power guard, so not worth power guarding. And it's fairly low recovery to where you can't really do anything afterward. And he can chain it back to back as well. But usually you do get the poke instead of that flimsy ass tail whip. Okay, so once he goes into Guardian mode, he has the special attack. Let's call it the special attack too, man. Like what? There's literally the same animation as the pin, by the way, except with like different properties. So this one you cannot charge counter, you cannot perfect guard because you're gonna get chipped severely from this like big explosion. So what I recommend is just guard dashing. The hop is not necessary. It does get rid of our max might, but you know, you're gonna lose that anyway. It's just a max might tax there. Here's the charge and then the poke, and you'll see me do a sweep here because it's fairly consistent. Another charge. Here's another example of what would have been a very nice charge counter that I should have seen. So you see me hold the red charge counter here. I should have held it for longer because these chains are not going to hit me. They end up not hitting me. You'll see because I don't proc offensive guard again. So I'm like sitting here. The charge counter sphere would have been like yay big. I would have procced the double counter thrust from this. I'm fairly certain. So phase shift. Kind of annoying for this fight. We have to rebuff and get the killing mantle. And then also sharpen. All fairly cleanly because we have to get here and do the sneak attack. Because we still have the biting counter from the second power clash that we dealt. Here I started going for the head because I thought I was close enough to the wing arm breaking. And I didn't want to break it while he was knocked down. Any animation that he's in will interrupt the wing arm breaking. So that's why I wanted to avoid it. Reverse back step. Fairly cleanly. I'm too far away there, so I go for the dash attack. Just charge the red. Let it rip. This is a weird attack choice on his part. But, you know, what can you do? When you have the Palico with you, there's just a level of variance that you have to deal with and just accept. Because he does help you quite a lot. So you see, I do break it here, I think, with a wide sweep. Yeah, and he just ignores it. That would have knocked him down if I had timed it slightly better, but it is what it is. Another knockdown would have given me a lot of DPS because you see all my buffs are active. Another grab, another charge counter. And the rest, I mean, it's just... Hopefully you can see... You start recognizing the attacks, right? Because I haven't talked for a while. Because he just keeps repeating the same old attacks. Same old attacks. Wide sweep here. Sweep. Just block it. Get back into your combo. You can't do much about the sweep. We power guard it because, again, hopefully you've learned red power guard is better than a white charge counter. And just rinse, repeat, man. That's what Lance is about. We get the arm, the chain blade break. We get the special knockdown. And that's about it. That's the entire hunt. So hopefully it was... Oh yeah, by the way, I didn't use my trank blades because I'm a moron, but don't worry about that. But yeah, that's essentially the entire hunt. It ended up being, what, 847, right? So lots of things to still improve. I didn't even mention the 2 throttles that I had here. They should have been Wex, most likely, but, you know, I was messing with things. Hopefully this was informative, and yeah, see you around. Hopefully you have a good time attack as well. Have a good one. And take care.